The Mets payroll, wrote one baseball writer, will likely wind up in the 300 millions. But Steve Cohen, the owner of the New York Mets' total outlay, factoring in his luxury tax payments, is going to exceed $400 million. We've never seen anything like this in the history of baseball. I think anyone who's followed baseball long enough, you realize that in this sport, you can't just throw money at your problems to fix them. Lots of teams try to do it. What ultimately happens for them? I think over the last couple of years, what the Los Angeles Dodgers have been unable to do, what the New York Yankees have been unwilling to do, I think goes to show you that money only gets you so far. You need to have smart people in place. You have to find ways to scout. You have to find ways to take advantage of situations, perhaps like the Astros have been pretty good at when it comes to scouting Caribbean talent. You got to do more than that. But take a look at where the Astros rank payroll-wise compared to the rest of baseball. The Mets right now have a payroll for 2023, and it doesn't seem like they are done, that per Spotrac.com is $274 million. The New York Yankees are in second, and they're way behind with a payroll of $207 million. The Phillies, who went on the big spending spree, have an $175 million payroll. The Padres, who just brought in Xander Bogaerts, with the Phillies bringing in, of course, Trey Turner, they have an $172 million payroll. The Atlanta Braves, they're still up there, $166 million. The Dodgers are all the way down in 7th place behind the Angels, which is kind of funny, $152 million. You got the Rangers at $150, the Rockies, and then the Astros. The Astros have the 10th highest payroll in all of baseball. That's nice. That means that you're trying. It means that you're doing all you can, and you don't look at the Astros as a big market team. I don't think you should. You shouldn't look at them the same way that you look at the Dodgers or the Mets or the Yankees. Like they have different, I think, financial restraints. Does it bother you, though, that these teams can spend as much money? That a team like the San Diego Padres, who you would think 100% would be out when it came to signing a guy like Xander Bogaerts, just given the fact that they have Fernando Tatis, who's maybe not the best shortstop fielder. Does it concern you at all? I'm curious. So you get to weigh in on that. 713-780-3776, 713-780-ESPN. Personally, for me, I like that they operate from a smart financial perspective, and that they have been very willing to let guys like George Springer, who I love but has a lot of injury issues, Carlos Correa, who I love, same thing, Garrett Cole, $200+ million when you have the pitching that you have in your system, Zach Greinke. They have been very okay letting guys walk. Charlie Morton, if you want to go further. Dallas Keuchel. This team does not overpay, and it has yet to hurt them. You do feel like at some point it's going to catch up. But I'm actually happy that this team doesn't go crazy with the spending. And I did think that there was a chance, given the supposed issues between James Click and Jim Crane that you saw this past offseason, I thought that there might be a chance that Jim Crane all of a sudden throws caution to the wind and starts operating, not erratically, but differently than what you've seen the Stros do under Jeff Luhnow and Click over the last couple of years. I thought that there was a possibility for that. And they, I think, deserve credit for basically being exactly the same as they've been. And for those who are still waiting for a general manager to be put in, and we talked with Chandler Rome on Friday about maybe needing a general manager to be the official guy when it comes to making trades or negotiating for players that are still available. It would help to have one guy as opposed to a bunch of different voices with, I guess, Jim Crane trying to organize those voices into the decisions that he ultimately makes. But there's been no change whatsoever. And for those who were freaking out about this team not having a general manager, the time where this will potentially hurt them is not now. It's not next year probably either. It's like 3-4 years away from now. Not a great look. Maybe not the best place to work. I've said that a couple of times. There's probably a bit of fear that's taking place if you are in that Astros front office, but they continue to operate responsibly, and I like it. It does, though, make me wonder, like, just how much money is going to be spent by some of these teams who clearly don't have the same kind of budget as the Astros the next couple of years. Philadelphia Phillies were in the World Series. I think that's why they're being as aggressive as they're being right now. But the Mets and Padres are two teams that have really just surprised me with how carefree they are when it comes to the bottom line. Are more teams going to try to do the same thing should they be successful this coming year? You kind of assume the Mets are going to fall apart because that's just been their general history, and you don't look at the Padres as maybe a team with the best of luck historically either. Definitely better than the Mets. Pretty much everyone has had better luck than the New York Mets over the years, especially when it comes to injuries. But I'm very curious as to if spending money, throwing money at your problems actually works out for these teams. They're looking for a World Series. You get one World Series, it's a pretty easy way to justify it, and maybe all of a sudden the Astros do get back to the pack because these teams have just more resources to work with.
I think one thing, it does seem like they are following the kind of Phillies path of you have some homegrown talent, some retained stars, and then you just go nuts in free agency, getting other guys. And I think that, like you said, the Padres getting a shortstop when they already have Fernando Tatis being like, we'll move him, that's fine, whatever.
Yeah,
we just need to get talent in. That's crazy. But I will say one thing that I have, or that you notice, is that both these teams are in the National League, along with the Dodgers that are also
in the National League.
Have been doing this for a while, running up this large payroll. In the American League, I mean, I'd be worried if this was the Mariners doing this. That would get the worrying started.
And here's what's interesting on that front, Sean, to your point. Last week, and I saw this, there's an article about it where Jerry DiPoto, who used to be the general manager and he's now in like the vice president of baseball operations, or maybe he's the full president. I forget what the title is officially. But he said, like, yeah, we're a mid-market team. We can only go so far. And they've been really aggressive with trades that they have made. But when it comes to actually spending big, they haven't done that. And the Yankees, I mean, they re-signed Brian Cashman and they re-signed Aaron Judge. So that is definitely an advantage, Sean. Good point that the Astros maybe have compared to those National League teams. Is like they're not competing with those teams for spots in the playoffs. They are maybe competing with them for, a free agent to make sure that they can maintain the level that they're at. But, they're signing Jose Abreu away from Chicago.
I mean, just looking at the total payroll that's in here. So you have the Mets, NL, and also Mets. You have the Yankees, where they haven't added anyone, and they're already number 2. And we saw how it went in the postseason. The Phillies, the Padres, and the Braves, all in the NL. You have the Angels, which LOL Angels.
Rangers too, who are right behind them.
Rangers right there, Dodgers in there. I don't know how the Rockies are up this.
How are the Rockies there?
They're money laundering. I feel confident saying this is money laundering.
I mean, the Rockies let like one of their best players walk to re-sign some guy who's not good anymore. What was that guy's name? I forgot at the top of my head.
Oh, they
this past offseason where everyone was like, wait, what?
They let Trevor Story walk, and they traded Nolan Arenado while still paying some of his contract. And
yes.
They went out and signed Chris Bryant, who got hurt.
Chris Bryant, yeah. right, who is not the Chris Bryant of old.
Until like June to debut, and then he got hurt again.
Oh boy,
they're spending more money on their baseball team than the Houston Astros are.
Astros, they're spending a lot compared to the other teams in the American League. It is interesting, and yeah, Toronto's really the only other contender, and they're like $120 million or so. As far as actual Astros news, I guess it is possible that Christian Vazquez could be coming back to the Astros, who missed out on Wilson Contreras. He has been tweeting as such. Remember when he got traded? I was like, oh, he's just going to go to Boston in the offseason.
When he got traded and had a microphone in his face, literally finding out he was leaving the Red Sox, he was like, man, I kind of want to go back to the Red Sox.
And, of course, like toxic Astros fans, like to make everyone like the Astros again hat wavers, they were like, oh, my God, what a bastard. He doesn't want to be here? Why are we trading for him? There were some people that were like that. But he did tweet out yesterday a picture of him with the Astros wearing, after they won the World Series, wearing a World Series champion T-shirt. It would be interesting to see them go into next year with the exact same catching situation and those two younger guys. Maybe that they're willing to bring back Vazquez shows that they're not as excited about Corey Lee and Diaz as maybe we might have been, given the fact that they, for a time at least, looked like they were willing to let Vazquez walk. But we'll see what happens on that front. That's the latest when it comes to the Astros doing anything.